The technologies I mentioned up to now are those that already exist. But what about transformational new ones that could emerge later this century? Scientific forecasters have a dismal record. One of my predecessors as Astronomer Royal said space travel was utter bilge. And few in the mid-20th century envisaged the transformative impact of the silicon chip or the double helix. So looking 50 years ahead, we must keep our minds open, or at least ajar, to what may seem now to be science fiction. But we can make one firm forecast, which is a crucial one. There will surely be a widening gulf between what science allows us to do and what applications it's prudent or ethical actually to do. More doors that science could open, but which are best kept closed. For example, human nature and human character have changed little for millennia. Before long, however, new cognition-enhancing drugs and cyborg techniques may alter human beings themselves. That's something qualitatively new and disquieting, because it could portend a more fundamental form of inequality if these options were only open to a privileged few. And we are living longer. Indeed, a real wild card in population projections is that future generations could achieve a really substantial enhancement in lifespan. This is still speculation. Mainstream researchers are cautious about prospects of more than incremental improvements. But such caution hasn't stopped some people, especially here in California, worried that they'll die before this nirvana is reached, and they're the ones who bequeath their bodies to be frozen, hoping some future generation will resurrect them or download their brains into a computer. I was once interviewed by a Californian group of these cryonic enthusiasts, which was called the Society for the Abolition of Involuntary Death. And I rather upset them by saying I'd rather end my days in an English churchyard than a Californian refrigerator. And what about robotics? Even back in the 1990s, IBM's Deep Blue beat Kasparov, the world chess champion. But robots can't yet recognize and move the pieces on a real chessboard as adeptly as a 5-year-old child can. Later in the century, however, their more advanced successors may relate to their surroundings and to people as adeptly as we do. And new moral questions will then arise. We accept an obligation to ensure that other human beings, and indeed some animals, can fulfill their natural potential. So what's our obligation towards sophisticated robots? Should we feel guilty about exploiting them? Should we fret if they're underemployed, frustrated, or bored? Well, these are problems for the conjectural future. But already, possible applications of science confront us with hard choices. Who should access the readout of our genetic code? Should we plant GM crops? Should the law allow designer babies? Etc.